Where is it, Amara? My diamond bracelet. Gone. You were the only one in my room this morning. Madam, please, I didn't take anything. I would never steal from you. Don't lie to me. Do you think I don't see through your sweet act? You people always... Vanessa, that's enough. Let her explain. Explain? The bracelet's worth more than her entire life. She was called a thief, humiliated, fired on the spot. But 3 days later, the truth everyone tried to bury came out, and it destroyed everything. The sun rose over the city of Maryville, its glass towers glimmering gold against the early morning haze. Inside one of the most expensive gated estates, the Parker Mansion stood like a palace. White marble, tall pillars, fountains singing in the courtyard. The air smelled of money, perfume, and secrets. Down in the servants' quarters, Amara buttoned her faded blue uniform. Her fingers trembled slightly from exhaustion, but her eyes, deep brown and steady, carried quiet strength. She was 35, a single mother who had moved from the outskirts of the city to find work. For 3 years, she'd been the maid in this house. 3 long years of silence, obedience, and endurance. Upstairs, Vanessa Parker was already awake, rich, elegant, and restless. She had everything: a billionaire husband, a mansion by the lake, and more jewelry than she could count. But behind her diamond smiles lived something darker: suspicion. Her husband, Richard Parker, was handsome and successful, the kind of man who knew how to charm a crowd. He ran a luxury real estate company, but lately he had been coming home late, very late. Vanessa noticed, and in her mind, every woman near him was a threat, even the maid. Amara walked quietly through the grand hall, carrying a tray of coffee toward the upstairs lounge. Her footsteps barely echoed on the polished floor, but Vanessa's sharp eyes caught her. "Amara," Vanessa said, sipping her drink, her tone cold, "did you polish the silverware?" "Yes, ma'am. Everything is done." Vanessa didn't respond. She just watched Amara like a hawk, every movement, every glance, as if waiting for her to make a mistake. Later that afternoon, guests arrived. The Parkers were hosting a charity luncheon. Crystal chandeliers glittered, waiters moved like dancers, and laughter filled the air. Amara worked silently, refilling glasses, clearing plates, blending into the background. She had learned to be invisible. But as the afternoon sunlight spilled through the tall windows, a scream pierced the air. Vanessa's voice, sharp, accusing. "My bracelet! My diamond bracelet! It's gone!" The room froze. Guests turned. Richard rushed forward, Vanessa's face twisted in panic and anger. "It was right here," she said, pointing at her wrist. "I took it off before lunch. I left it on the dresser in my room. Someone's taken it." Her eyes scanned the room, the waiters, the staff, and stopped on Amara. The silence was heavy, cruel. "Where's my bracelet?" she hissed, stepping toward her. "You were cleaning in my room this morning. Don't you dare lie to me." Amara's face went pale. "Ma'am, I don't know what—" "Don't you dare speak," she shouted. "You think because I treat you kindly you can steal from me. My bracelet costs more than your entire life." The guests exchanged awkward glances. Richard tried to calm his wife, but she wouldn't stop. She demanded that Amara's bag be checked, right there in front of everyone. Amara's lips trembled as a guard opened her small handbag. Inside were only a few coins, a folded photo of a son, and a small bar of soap. Nothing else. "She must have hid it somewhere else," Vanessa muttered, shaking her head. "Call the security team. Check the servants' quarters." "Vanessa," Richard said firmly, "this is going too far." "Too far?" she snapped. "If she didn't steal it, then where is it?" Amara's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. She whispered, "I would never steal from you, ma'am. I swear before God." But Vanessa only laughed bitterly. "That's what they all say." The guests were murmuring now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others whispered behind their hands. Amara wanted to disappear. She bowed her head, clutching her hands together as if praying for the ground to swallow her whole. The security guard searched her room, overturned a small dresser, opened every drawer, checked under the bed. Nothing. When they came back empty-handed, Vanessa's anger only deepened. "Of course she hid it," she said coldly. "She's clever. These people always are."
That night, after everyone had gone, Amara sat on her bed in silence. Her body shook, not from fear, but from humiliation. Her hands touched the small photo of a son. She whispered, "I didn't do anything, God. You know I didn't." But somewhere in the house, someone else was awake, pacing, sweating, hiding something. Richard Parker. He opened his study drawer and stared at the diamond bracelet lying inside, the same one his wife accused the maid of stealing. He ran a trembling hand over it, guilt burning in his chest. He had hidden it earlier that morning after his lover, a woman from his office, had dropped by unexpectedly. The bracelet was the gift he'd once given his wife, but he had accidentally left it in her lover's purse. When she returned it in panic, he quickly hid it away, intending to explain later. But he hadn't expected Vanessa to notice so soon. Now, his silence had ruined an innocent woman. He exhaled shakily, guilt clawing at his throat. What have I done? The next morning, the mansion was quiet, but the silence felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Amara moved carefully, her heart still bruised from yesterday's humiliation. Every glance from the other staff felt sharper now, full of pity or doubt. When she entered the living room, Vanessa was already there, dressed in silk, scrolling her phone. Her tone was icy. "Amara," she said without looking up, "you'll clean the upstairs guest room today. After that, you're done for the week." "Yes, ma'am," she whispered. She knew what that meant. Suspension. Vanessa didn't want to see her around, not until she found the bracelet. As Amara turned to leave, Vanessa added, "And if I find out you've pawned it, I'll make sure you never work in this city again." Amara didn't reply. She just walked away, her eyes burning but dry. She had cried too much already. Upstairs, she entered the guest room, opened the curtains, and sunlight poured across the floor. Her hands moved automatically, dusting, folding, sweeping, but her mind was somewhere else. Every corner of the house now felt like a prison. Downstairs, in his office, Richard couldn't focus. His assistant called twice. His phone buzzed nonstop, but guilt was louder than anything else. He glanced again at the drawer where the bracelet lay. Every time he saw it, he saw Amara's face, those steady brown eyes trembling under his wife's accusation. He couldn't take it anymore. He opened the drawer, pulled out the bracelet, and held it under the light. The diamonds gleamed cold and merciless. He whispered, "I'll fix this." That evening, Vanessa invited 2 friends over for tea, rich women like her, wrapped in designer scarves, their laughter dripping with gossip. As Amara served them, she could hear pieces of their whispers. "She still works here?" one woman asked. "I'd have fired her already. These people, you give them an inch, they steal a mile." Vanessa smirked. "I'm only keeping her until I'm sure, but trust me, she'll slip up." Amara's hands trembled slightly as she poured tea. One drop spilled on the table. Vanessa's tone cut through the air. "Careful, Amara. This table costs more than your yearly salary." The women laughed softly like snakes. Amara swallowed hard, nodded, and quietly left the room. But as she walked down the hallway, she noticed something. A small red light blinking above one of the decorative cameras. It was on. The Parkers had recently upgraded their home security system, cameras everywhere, hidden in corners and chandeliers. An idea flickered in Amara's mind. What if the footage could prove her innocence? That night, after everyone had gone to bed, she approached the house security office, a small room filled with monitors. The night guard, Peter, was a kind man in his 50s who'd worked there for years. "Peter," she whispered softly, standing at the door, "please, can you help me?" He turned, surprised. "Amara, what's wrong?" She hesitated. "I was accused of stealing something I didn't take. I just want to know if the cameras saw anything from the day before." Peter scratched his head. "You know I'm not supposed to show footage without Madam's permission." "I understand," she said quickly. "But please, just Just look for me. I just need to know. Peter sighed. He had known Amara since her first day. He'd seen her working tirelessly, never complaining. Something in her voice broke his heart. He nodded slowly. All right, let's check. They rewound the footage to the morning before the luncheon. On the screen, Amara could see herself entering Vanessa's room, folding clothes, fixing the bed. Nothing unusual. She left the room. Then 10 minutes later, Richard entered. He looked nervously, reached into his pocket, and placed the diamond bracelet inside the drawer of his study desk. Peter frowned. Wait a minute. Amara's hand flew to her mouth. That's it. That's the bracelet. Peter looked at her, then back at the screen. Lord, have mercy. It wasn't you. Amara's knees nearly gave out. I knew it. I knew I wasn't crazy. Peter leaned forward. We need to tell them. Amara shook her head quickly. No, Madam won't believe me. She'll think I'm lying again. Peter hesitated. Then what will you do? Amara's eyes hardened, not with hate, but with calm determination. I'll let the truth speak for itself. The next morning, Vanessa woke up to a surprise. The household tablet, the one that controlled the security system, was flashing with an unread file titled, Watch Me. Curious, she tapped it. The screen played the footage, clear as day. Her husband, the bracelet, the drawer. Her face went pale. Her mouth fell open. Richard walked into the room just then, freezing as he saw the tablet in her hands. Vanessa, he started, but she cut him off. So this is the truth, she snapped, her voice shaking with fury. You let me humiliate that woman, that poor woman, while you were the one who hid it? Vanessa, listen to me. No, she shouted, slamming the tablet down. Do you have any idea what I said to her? What you let me do? The sound of glass shattered as she threw her teacup against the wall. Downstairs, Amara stood quietly in the hallway. She could hear the yelling, the chaos, the footsteps. She didn't move. Peter appeared beside her, whispering, They found out. Amara nodded slowly. Good. But this wasn't over, not yet, because in just a few hours, the truth wouldn't stay inside the house. It was about to explode in front of the entire city.
By noon, the mansion was no longer quiet. It buzzed with tension, like thunder waiting to break. Vanessa had locked herself in the upstairs lounge. Her hands shook as she paced across the marble floor, muttering to herself. Every time she looked at that tablet, her heart boiled. Anger, shame, betrayal, all twisting together. Her husband's voice echoed in her mind. It's not what you think. But she knew exactly what she thought, and what she had done. Downstairs, the staff whispered in corners. Everyone had heard the shouting. No one dared speak Amara's name too loudly, but they all looked at her differently now, with quiet respect. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just kept working, mopping the very floor where she had been humiliated 2 days ago. Every stroke of the mop felt like cleansing not just the marble, but her own heart. Then Peter rushed in, breathing hard. Amara, you need to see this. He held out his phone. On the screen, a trending social media post. Rich couple accuse Maid of theft. Then this happens. Amara's stomach dropped. The video had been leaked. The same security footage that showed Richard hiding the bracelet. It had spread like wildfire. Thousands of comments, millions of views. Somebody, maybe one of the staff, had shared it. And the world was watching. By the afternoon, news vans were parked outside the Parker Mansion gates. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and drones hovered over the property. Inside, Vanessa's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her friends, her social club, even her mother, all calling, all asking the same question. Is it true? Richard sat on the couch, pale and silent. Vanessa, we need to handle this calmly.
Calmly, she snapped, her voice trembling. I'm the laughingstock of the city. Everyone's calling me a racist, a monster. Do you know what they're saying about me online? She threw the tablet at the wall. It shattered, the video freezing mid-frame, Amara's terrified face under accusation. Richard ran his hair through his hair. Vanessa, please, I didn't mean for this to happen. I was trying to— To what? To protect yourself? She shouted. You let me destroy that woman's dignity just to save your own image? Tears streamed down her face now, not from guilt, but humiliation. Meanwhile, Amara was called to the main hall. Vanessa wanted to see her. The air inside the mansion was thick with tension. Reporters' voices could still be heard faintly from outside the gates. Amara walked in slowly, her posture straight, but her eyes calm, almost too calm. Vanessa stood at the top of the staircase, trembling, clutching her glass of water like a lifeline. Richard stood behind her, silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Vanessa said quietly, You knew, didn't you, about the cameras? Amara's voice was soft but steady. Yes, ma'am. I only wanted to prove my innocence. Vanessa's eyes flashed. You embarrassed me. My reputation was built on my humiliation, Amara interrupted, gently but firmly. The words landed like a slap. Vanessa's lips parted, but no sound came. For the first time, she was speechless. Amara continued, her voice trembling only slightly. You looked at me and saw a thief, not a person, not a mother trying to feed her child, just someone you could shout at. I didn't deserve that. Richard lowered his head. Amara, I'm sorry. But she wasn't done. She turned toward him, her tone still respectful but sharp. You knew the truth, sir, and you said nothing. You let her tear me apart while you watched. Vanessa's eyes widened. He what? Amara looked at her. He hid the bracelet, ma'am. The camera showed everything. Vanessa turned slowly toward her husband, her voice rising. You knew? Vanessa, please. You knew, she screamed. You let me destroy that woman's life because of your lie. Richard tried to reach for her, but she stepped back, disgusted. The glass fell from her hand and shattered on the stairs. Downstairs, the front doors burst open. Security guards tried to hold back reporters shouting questions. Cameras flashed through the windows. Vanessa's rage exploded. Get them out! Get them all out! But it was too late. The whole city had seen. The whole city now knew. Amara stood silently, her heart pounding, her dignity shining brighter than any diamond bracelet could. Vanessa turned back to her, trembling. You wanted revenge, didn't you? That's why you leaked the video. Amara shook her head slowly. No, ma'am, I didn't share it, but maybe the truth finally wanted to be seen. For a long, tense moment, Vanessa just stared, unable to speak, unable to breathe. The weight of her shame hung in the air like smoke. Amara stepped back, bowed her head slightly, and said softly, I'll be leaving now. She turned and walked toward the door, her footsteps calm and deliberate. The guards moved aside. Even the reporters fell silent as she stepped outside into the sunlight. Her blue uniform shimmered in the light breeze, torn but dignified. The crowd parted as she walked down the steps. No tears, no fear, no anger, just peace. Someone in the crowd whispered, That's her. That's the maid. And someone else murmured, She didn't steal anything. She was innocent. For the first time in days, Amara smiled faintly, not out of pride, but relief. She had nothing left to lose, and yet she had won everything that truly mattered.
The story didn't fade with the sunset. It grew. By the next morning, every news channel in Maryville was talking about it. Headlines flashed across the city. Maid wrongly accused by socialite. Hidden footage reveals truth. From shame to strength, the black maid who stood tall. Clips from the leaked video played on every platform. Comment sections overflowed with outrage, sympathy, and shock. The world was no longer inside the Parker mansion. It was watching from the outside, judging, replaying, remembering. Inside that mansion, Vanessa sat alone in her luxurious bedroom, curtains drawn, makeup smeared, her phone buzzing nonstop. She ignored it all. The mirror across from her showed a woman she didn't recognize, her hair disheveled, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Once the queen of Marivelle's elite, now a villain in every headline. Richard had moved out. His company had suspended him, pending reputation review. Investors were panicking, and the foundation Vanessa chaired had dropped her name from its board. Everywhere she turned, there were whispers, not of admiration, but disgust. How could she? She accused an innocent woman. She's finished. The noise was deafening. Down in the city's quiet outskirts, Amara sat on a wooden bench outside a small cafe, the morning sun warming her skin. She wore a simple dress now, no uniform, no badge, no fear. In her hands was a folded newspaper, her face printed right there on the front page. She didn't smile at the attention. She didn't crave fame. All she felt was peace. Peter, the old security guard, found her there that morning. He sat beside her, handing her a small paper bag. "Your favorite, sweet rolls, fresh from the bakery." Amara smiled softly. "You didn't have to." "I did," he said, chuckling. "You've had a long week, Amara." She looked down at her hands. "Sometimes I still hear her voice, calling me a thief." "Don't let that voice live in your head. Let the truth speak louder." She looked up at the sky. "I never wanted revenge. I just wanted to keep my name clean. For my son." Peter smiled. "You did more than that. You gave a voice to every woman who's been accused, silenced, and ignored." She turned to him, surprised by his words, then nodded slowly. "Maybe that's enough." Meanwhile, across town, Richard Parker stood in front of a row of reporters outside his company's glass building. Cameras flashed, microphones pushed toward him. "Mr. Parker, is it true you framed your maid? Do you plan to apologize publicly? Was your wife aware of the truth?" Richard looked worn, tie loosened, eyes hollow. He raised his hand for silence. "Yes," he said quietly. "Everything you saw was true. My silence hurt an innocent woman, and I will regret that for the rest of my life." A murmur went through the crowd. He took a deep breath. "I made arrangements to compensate her, but no amount of money can repay what I took, her dignity." Some reporters softened, others didn't, but his words spread fast. Later that day, he went to find her. He arrived at the small cafe just as the sun dipped low. Amara looked up from her seat, startled to see him standing there. No suit, no entourage, just a man stripped of his pride. "Mr. Parker?" she said quietly. "Amara," he replied, his voice breaking. "I came to say I'm sorry." He sat across from her, folding his trembling hands. "I should have spoken the truth that day. I was a coward." Amara watched him carefully. "You watched me get humiliated. You said nothing." He nodded, eyes wet. "And I deserve every consequence that's coming. But you deserve peace. I know you'll never forgive me, but I hope you'll at least accept this." He slid a small envelope across the table. Inside, a check, large enough to change her life. Amara looked at it, then closed it again and pushed it back toward him.
I don't want your money, sir. I just want to live free, with my name clean. Richard's eyes widened, his throat tightening. You a better person than any of us, Amara. She smiled faintly. No, I just know that peace costs less than revenge. He stood, nodded, and left quietly, shoulders heavy, heart heavier. That evening, Vanessa appeared on live television for the first time since the scandal. Her makeup was perfect, but her eyes betrayed her shame. I accused a woman who did nothing wrong. My pride blinded me. My jealousy destroyed my decency. I'm sorry. The video went viral overnight again. But this time the comments were different. Some people said it was brave. Most said it was too late. Amara didn't watch it. She was too busy packing a small suitcase. She had been offered a new job, not as a maid, but as a caretaker at a community center for working women. When she closed the last zipper, she looked around the tiny room she had rented. The walls were bare except for one photo, her and her son. He was smiling, wearing his school uniform. She whispered, "We're free now." Outside, night settled over Maryvale. The city lights sparkled like 1,000 tiny diamonds, the kind Vanessa used to wear so proudly. But none of them shone brighter than the quiet strength of one woman who walked away with nothing, and yet everything. As Amara stepped onto the bus, the driver smiled. "You're that woman from the news, aren't you?" She laughed softly. "I was, but now I'm just Amara." The bus pulled away, disappearing into the glowing skyline, leaving behind the mansion, the scandal, and the voices that once tried to break her. And for the first time in years, her heart felt light, because sometimes the accused is the only one truly innocent, and the truth, once revealed, burns brighter than any diamond ever could.